Manila Press presents
The Swans of Harlem. 5 black ballerinas, 50 years of sisterhood, and their reclamation of a groundbreaking history. By Karen Valby. Read for you by January Lavoy, with Lydia Abarca Mitchell, Shelia Rohan, Marcia Lynn Sells, Karlya Shelton-Benjamin, and Khadija Tariyan McKinney-Griffith. Prologue. At the height of the civil rights movement, Lydia Abarca was a prima ballerina for a major international company, starring in iconic works like George Balanchine's Agon and Swan Lake, Jerome Robbins's Afternoon of a Faun, and William Dollar's Le Combat. Critics described her as the dreaming soul of dance and a living ode to beauty, incapable of an ugly gesture or a false movement. She was the first black company ballerina ever to grace the cover of Dance magazine. She performed for queens and kings, in the movie production of The Wiz, and for Bob Fosse on Broadway. She was one of Revlon's original Charlie models, an Essence cover star, the object of affection for everyone from Mick Jagger to David Bowie. Roses collected at her feet around the globe. Half a century later, during Black History Month, Abarca's 32-year-old daughter Daniela wanted to brag about her mother to their friends and family. She went looking for evidence of all Abarca had done, all the barriers she had broken, all the history she had made. But in researching the history of black ballet, she could find only stories about one young woman, Misty Copeland. Misty Copeland, Misty Copeland, Misty Copeland. The first black ballerina, insisted the internet. And indeed, in 2015, Copeland became the first African-American woman to be promoted to principal dancer at American Ballet Theatre, ABT, breaking the company's 75-year record of whiteness. Thank God for Copeland's talent and her perseverance, for the breaking of poisonous runs. But why, Daniela cried, had her own mother been so thoroughly disappeared from the telling of Copeland's accomplishments? Just days later, Abarca's only grandchild, Hannah, came home from preschool in the suburbs of Atlanta, her head flooded with stories about the singularity of Misty Copeland. 4 girls in her class had chosen the ubiquitous ballerina as the subject of their Famous Black Americans project. Hannah had sat confused on the class rug, listening to how Copeland had been the first to kick down doors so that children like her could live more comfortably in their dreams. But what about Grandma? Hannah blurted out at the dinner table that night. Daniela was furious, unsure where even to direct her anger. "Where's your name?" she cried to her forgotten mother. "Where's your name?" George Balanchine, long considered the father of American ballet and the co-founder and artistic director of New York City Ballet, was famously said to prefer his ballerinas the color of a peeled apple. His apologists insist he was talking only about Suzanne Farrell, one of his most iconic muses. To this day, City Ballet has yet to anoint a black principal ballerina. But it was also Balanchine, along with his City Ballet co-founder Lincoln Kirstein, who recognized greatness in Harlem's own Arthur Mitchell and encouraged his rise to become the company's first black principal dancer. Kirstein had been in the audience for Mitchell's high school graduation exercise at the School of the Performing Arts, when he performed a solo entitled Whale, choreographed to Bela Bartok's music. Mitchell had lacked formal dance training when he'd been accepted into the school, relying instead on his exuberant sense of showmanship, auditioning in a rented white top hat and tails with a tap dance routine to Fred Astaire's Steppin' Out With My Baby, taught to him by a vaudevillian performer he'd looked up in the phone book. Throughout his time there, Mitchell withstood pressure from the school's administration, which pushed him toward modern dance. They said it was better for primitive peoples, he explained to a People reporter in 1975. I said to hell with that. I wasn't raised speaking Swahili or doing native dances. Why not classical ballet? Upon Mitchell...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?